All right, Tim, well, let's talk about it, man.
Yep.
Obviously, this was a big result for you, man.
Yeah.
So just how good does it feel to have this win?
Well, it's such a relief. The past couple fights, afterwards, I feel like, anything can happen in there. And Josh is definitely a tough kid and usually comes out, starts fast, and is real dangerous. So I knew, there's no such thing as a safe fight in the UFC. I knew that was the case coming in. And I knew I had to finish. I wanted a big finish. And that being said, I also knew that if it came down to it, I might have to play a little bit of this position and point game. I just knew that I had to leave the building with a win if I wanted a job tomorrow morning. So.
I was say, man, that's kind of going to be a scary thought, right? I mean, you know how the UFC works.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody likes to think about it, but realistically, you had to feel like your job was on the line.
I certainly did, and definitely a big sigh of relief getting my hand raised in there. But, the whole time I've felt very confident in my training. Even the past couple fights that I lost, I've been very confident going into those fights and just wasn't meant to be. But I felt like tonight I was going to get in there and prove it against a very tough opponent. Josh, like I said, he's dangerous. And just happy to get in there and impose my will. I thank the Lord that I was able to get my hand raised at the end. And just feeling really good at this time right now.
I did wonder, when the fight was announced, you say, well, here's a guy that's had a couple losses. They got this kind of young up-and-comer. I mean, do you think about stuff like that? Or, are they setting me up here? Or?
Well, I know I've been set up a few times, and I've disappointed a few people along the way because of that. And but I don't let that weigh on my mind too much. I know that if I go in there with the training that I need, if I've been able to have the camp to prepare for a fight, I can get in there against anybody. And, I was healthy this entire camp, which is a rare thing for me. When that happens, I start to get very nervous towards the end because I'm like, I'll start counting down the practices I got to get through, and stay healthy to get into the fight and feel good. And everything was perfect this camp. But everything can go perfect right up until you meet in the middle of the octagon, and then anything can happen. But I got my hand raised tonight, and that's what matters.
Talk about the way the fight played out. I was surprised. It seemed like he was actually willing to be in the clinch,
Yeah.
with you, which I thought was that would be your strong area.
Yeah, I was surprised. I knew we would end up there, but I expected a heavy exchange first. So when he was very willing to just go right to the clinch, I was initially shocked, but I could feel him working very hard to get to that position and maintain it. So even while I was against the cage, from the outside looking in, you might think he's winning that position, but I could feel him burning a lot of energy to hold me there. So I was going to let him get a little tired and look for my opportunity, and sure enough, it came.
The finish, I mean, obviously, I was concerned maybe you might, burn yourself
out.
I
was on the verge. I was on the verge.
Yeah.
I was looking down, just throwing wildly, and I was like, hey, you're smarter than this. Pick your shots, find the opening. That's what I did, and after you land one or two clean ones, then they start to open up more. And obviously the ref stepped in after he felt the appropriate amount of damage had been applied. But Josh is tough. I hit him a bunch under there, and he seemed like he wanted to keep going.
What makes sense for you next? You're not the youngest guy in the division. You get a little time to rest. You want to get back in there? What makes sense?
I feel great. So if they need somebody tomorrow, I'm ready. Well, I think I have a 7-day waiting period, but I'm ready to go. I'm in fight shape. And whatever they want to put in front of me, I'll knock them down.